Did you know the parable of the Good Samaritan? Jesus often taught through simple but powerful stories, parables that reveal deep spiritual truths. In today's episode, we journey into the shadows of an ancient road where a question asked in desperation would unlock a truth that religious leaders tried to hide for centuries. What if I told you that buried within one of history's most famous stories lies a secret so profound it could change everything you thought you knew about human nature? But in one shadowed courtyard, a different kind of confrontation was about to unfold. A lawyer, not just any lawyer, but an expert in religious law, approaches a controversial teacher. But this isn't a casual conversation. This is a test, a trap. He challenges this teacher, Jesus, with a question so precise, so pointed. He asks,
Teacher, what shall I do to inherit eternal life? Luke chapter 10, verse 25.
Now pay close attention, because what happens next reveals something authorities never wanted you to discover. The teacher, Jesus, doesn't answer directly. Instead, he turns the question back. What is written in the law? How do you read it? Luke chapter 10, verse 26. The lawyer responds with precision, quoting Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 5. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Luke chapter 10, verse 27. But then comes the question that changes everything.
And who is my neighbor?
3 simple words. But they were about to unleash a story so powerful, so dangerous to the established order, that its true meaning has been hidden in plain sight for millennia. Jesus begins to weave a tale, but not just any tale. He's describing a road that every person listening knew intimately, the treacherous 17-mile descent from Jerusalem to Jericho. Jesus answered, A certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell amongst robbers, who both stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Luke chapter 10, verse 30. But here's where the story takes a turn that would have shocked Jesus' audience to their core. Our protagonist is now facing a grim reality. He's alone, injured and on the brink of death, each breath becoming more shallow, each heartbeat echoing his fading strength. In this moment of despair, 2 questions arise. Why did this happen to me, and who will help me now? The first rays of dawn illuminate a new challenge. The road descends gradually, stretching ahead like a long goodbye to life. By chance, a certain priest was going down that way. When he saw him, he passed by on the other side. Luke chapter 10, verse 31. A holy man, a servant of God, someone whose very existence was dedicated to showing mercy and compassion. He sees the dying man and walks to the other side of the road. In the same way, a Levite also, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. Luke chapter 10, verse 32. 2 holy men, 2 servants of God, 2 complete failures of human compassion. But Jesus wasn't finished, because the next character, what he introduces, would have made his audience gasp in horror and disbelief. So when Jesus made a Samaritan the hero of his story, he wasn't just telling a parable, he was detonating a bomb in the minds of his listeners. Suddenly, a Samaritan appears on the scene. To understand the shock this moment represents, consider this. For over 400 years, Jewish people wouldn't speak to Samaritans. These 2 groups were locked in a cycle of bitter hatred. A Jewish person would rather die of thirst than drink from a Samaritan well. They would take a longer route to avoid Samaritan territory. Children were taught to fear and hate Samaritans from birth. So when Jesus made a Samaritan the hero of his story, he wasn't just telling a parable, he was detonating a bomb in the minds of his listeners. So when this Samaritan shows up, he breaks all the rules. And the reason for his unexpected appearance is even more surprising. The text says he was moved with compassion, but the Greek word used here, splagchnizomai, is not so easy to pronounce, but I am sure it's deeper than that. It means his entire being was overwhelmed with the need to help. The Samaritan doesn't stand by. He springs into action, tending to the wounds, binding them up and pouring oil and wine on them. But his actions don't end there. He demonstrates extraordinary kindness. He sets the man on his own animal, ensuring his comfort and safety. He takes him to an inn, personally supervising his care. And as he departs the next day, he doesn't leave the man's fate to chance. He pays for his lodging, guaranteeing that the injured man will be looked after. The Samaritan's actions are not merely charitable, they're profoundly humane. The moment the Samaritan arrives, the narrative shifts dramatically. He's the antithesis to the priest and the Levite. Where they saw only danger, he saw a brother in need. Where they hesitated, he acted. Where they failed in compassion, he triumphed. And then Jesus delivers the crushing blow to everything his audience thought they knew about morality, about righteousness, about who deserves love and who doesn't. He asked the lawyer, "Now which of these three do you think seemed to be a neighbor to him who fell amongst the robbers?" Luke chapter 10, verse 36. Notice the brilliant trap Jesus has set. The lawyer can't even bring himself to say the word Samaritan. The lawyer could only respond, "He who showed mercy on him." And then Jesus speaks 4 words that shatter every boundary, every prejudice, every excuse for hatred that has ever existed. Then Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." Luke chapter 10, verse 37. But here's the secret that changes everything about this story. The lawyer asked, "Who is my neighbor?" expecting a simple answer. Perhaps fellow Jews, maybe even God-fearing Gentiles if he was feeling generous. But Jesus doesn't answer that question at all. Instead, he flips it completely. He doesn't define who qualifies as your neighbor. He reveals who you must become as a neighbor. The real secret hidden in this parable isn't about identifying who deserves your help. It's about recognizing that the question itself is wrong. The moment you ask, "Who is my neighbor?" you've already missed the point. Everyone is your neighbor. The person who looks different, believes differently, lives differently, even the one who hates you. They are all your neighbors, and you are called to be theirs. But there's an even deeper mystery here. Some scholars believe Jesus was describing something that actually happened on that road. That somewhere in the desert between Jerusalem and Jericho, a real Samaritan showed real mercy to a real enemy. And Jesus held up this moment as a mirror to expose the hardness of human hearts. The parable ends with a command, "Go and do likewise." But perhaps the most mysterious aspect of this story is why it's so rarely followed. For 2,000 years, people have read this story, nodded in approval, and then continued building walls instead of bridges. The very people who claim to love this parable often become the priest and the Levite in their own version of the story. So the question remains, echoing across the centuries from that ancient road to your life today. When you encounter someone broken by the side of your road, someone different, someone you've been taught to fear or dislike, will you be the priest, the Levite, or the Samaritan? The road is still there. The choice is still yours. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button, like and comment for more videos.